Hi guys, again. So I'm going to talk about India. Thank you, Sylvia, for that on Austria. Um, so this is a picture of the Taj Mahal. I'm sure you guys know or have seen this. It's one of the most famous monuments in India, and it's also one of the first things people think about when they think of India. So I put up there as a example of the stereotype that this is what India's this is what represents India, which is not true. It's very important, but it's not the only thing. Um, so this is a map of India. It's in South Asia. It is known as the South Asian region, along with a few other countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan and Nepal and Bhutan and Bangladesh. Um, I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of smaller countries like Bhutan is right there. Nepal is on the northeastern border. Bangladesh is actually in between, like two sections of India. It's flanked on both sides by India. So a lot of people think that that's part of us or part of India, but it's not. And then you can see there's Sri Lanka on the bottom. That's actually another country. A lot of people think that's an island part of India also, but they're their own country with their own language and their own like politics and everything. So yeah, the capital of India is in the north. It's right here. It's New Delhi. But there's a lot of other major cities like Bombay right here on the western coast. The city that I'm actually from is Tamil Nadu or down here or Chennai. Chennai is in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is a state, and then there's the city Chennai down here. And then let's see if I can see any other major cities. Hmm. There's not a lot of big ones. There's Jaipur right here, which is pretty big too. This map doesn't have a lot of them marked out, but yeah. So, um, so some common stereotypes. I talked about three of the main, major stereotypes that people seem to have about India and Indians in general. Are the first one that I'm going to talk about is academics. People think that Indians are very book smart. They're very nerdy, or they're all in the STEM or math sciences kind of fields. And there's actually been I've had jokes said to me about how there's only two career options for Indians, either going into medicine and being a doctor or going into engineering, which is not true. A lot of Indians go into other fields. And this stereotype is portrayed often in media, especially in Hollywood and even in Bollywood, as the nerdy Indian, and the Big Bang Theory on the left here, or even in Mean Girls, um, the Indian guy is thought of as the nerdy weird one, which is not true, but it's fine. Um, but on the flip side, a lot of people think of Indians in India as not having enough education. They think of India as being super poor, and a lot of kids don't have the resources to go to school, or if they do, they don't go to advanced school. And a lot of people think that Indians don't know English, which is also not true. Another major stereotype of India is the poverty. India is a third world country, or it's a developing country, as they say, but that does not mean that it is all in that everyone is in poverty. People think of it as being very corrupt. This is also portrayed in a lot of Bollywood movies and Indian movies as India being run by corrupt politicians and corrupt gangs and um, members of the mafia or something, which is not true. That's definitely a problem. Corruption is a problem in India, but it's a problem in many countries. Um, so everything um, is another stereotype. Everything is dirty. There's beggars and homeless people everywhere. Everything is you can't eat anything in India. There's no sanitation. There's not enough space. These are what people think, and this is not true at all. Um, and this is also perpetrated by Slumdog Millionaire, which talks about the slums of India, which like in those areas, yes, there's a lot of poverty because they are slums, and but that doesn't mean that that's all of India. Um, and the last major thing people think about, or that I realize people think about, is how religious India is. Everyone, like, everything seems to be based on Hinduism. There's temples everywhere. People think that Indians are very, I guess, they're very, what's the word for this? I guess very religious and very, I cannot, I guess like very set in their traditional ways. They won't change. They're very conservative, and that's the reason why India can't become more modernized. People think that India has like a backwards culture and a backwards like economy, that women can't get educations or jobs, or arranged marriages are very common, and that the caste system still exists, and all these misconceptions are about India exist, which are, the problem is a lot of these stereotypes have truth behind them, as all stereotypes do, but they are exaggerations of the truth, which can actually make other people feel like they're not included, or make Indians feel like they're not included in, or not represented properly in the world. So the truth is, India is a very diverse country. Every region and every state within India is different from all the others. There's no, like, the national language is Hindi, but a lot of people don't speak Hindi, especially in the south. Each state and each region has their own language. Each has like their own like religion, like major religion, and like major culture. There's lots of cultural differences, but so there's no way to properly generalize India. It's impossible to do that. But India, it has one of the greatest number of students getting college degrees in the entire world. There's a huge population of higher education, like students getting higher education, and not all of them are in the STEM field. There's a huge like a lot of people go into the arts and the humanities, movies, music, poetry, dance. They're all like very, very important to Indians and to their culture. And many of the most like famous Indians are in those fields, not in math or science fields or in medicine. A lot of rural schools don't have the resources to provide proper education, which is where that stereotype comes from. But the majority of schools in India have funding. They have space for students. Both private and public schools exist. The government funds a lot of schools and makes sure a lot of students get their education, and has a very, very high literacy rate in India. And though there are a lot of different languages, India, almost everyone in India knows English. They are very fluent, from the highest of like the richest of the rich to like the poor servants. They all know English. India was actually under the rule of the British for many years, and so that's how they learned English, and that's still one of the major languages of the country. India is also not in complete poverty, just like in education, some rural, like just like for education where a lot of rural schools are poor, a lot of rural communities in general are poor, but the bigger cities in India are very urbanized and very modern. They're called westernized. It's basically like America or like going to England. There's skyscrapers, there's like huge malls and like huge streets. Like there's a lot of money going through India, developing very, very quickly. And many big corporations from these Western countries are going into India because of how developed it's becoming, and how rich it's becoming. And in terms of religion and how the stereotype that a lot of Indians are Hindus and that India is run on religion, that's not true. India has one of the most diverse religious populations. It accepts people from any religious background. There's Christians, there's Christian schools. My mom actually went to a Catholic school for her entire life. There's Jews, there's Sikhs, there's Muslims, Buddhists. There's like more traditional, um, like traditional religions before Hinduism, and there's even a lot of atheists in India too. There's everything. There's people of every religion in India. The caste system is actually outlawed. It is illegal to follow the caste system in India, and so the only way that would ever come up in conversation was if you're talking to someone who is very traditional, but it was only in conversation. It would never be actually enforced. And in many regions, arranged marriages are also becoming less and less common, and people are like making their own future. People are able to choose their own husbands or own wives and decide for themselves. Arranged marriages are actually becoming very unpopular amongst the Indian population today. So yeah.